Welcome to I'm Just Trying to Work Out. My name is Hadia, and this video is basically letting you know where I've been, why I fell off, and why am I coming back. Well, in 2019, I was an educator in the public school system, and I received the opportunity to work for a new job for a federal grant at another district, and so I definitely took that opportunity. But with more money came more problems, came more stress, and that definitely rolled out into action there. And then within a few months of actually obtaining that job, um, the pandemic happened. And then less than a month after the pandemic happened, we got pregnant. So that was a lot of stress. Mind you, at the time I was 39. So going into a geriatric pregnancy, because of course I'm older, it just created more stress. Then I really couldn't move around as much because of the pandemic, and then also because the area we lived in had like a nature preserve, so there was coyotes and stuff just kind of randomly popping up and out. So I just did not feel safe enough to do that. And um, delivering during that time, no one could come to the hospital with us. Only me and my husband were able to go to the hospital for delivery, and she was delivered like 2 weeks early, which means she actually went to the NICU. She was a NICU baby on top of that. So all of that stress happened in, I would say, in about a year's time. Um, and so, um, thankfully, she was fine. Got her home from the NICU about, in about 2 weeks. And, went on that breastfeeding journey. And when you have a new baby and you're breastfeeding, you're just exhausted all the time. You basically are eating, breastfeeding, sleeping. And then I was pumping also to try to save up some, so when she started going to daycare, she would have some actual milk for them to utilize for her. So it was very stressful. It just was a different um stress level. And my son at the time was starting high school. He was like 13, 14 years old and starting high school at that time. So he was becoming very active in school. So that added stress was onto me as well. Being married and trying to have time also for my husband, and trying to juggle family, friends, coworkers. Everybody wanted to see the baby, but of course, and once again, we were still dealing with the pandemic stuff. So it was very challenging to say the least. And eventually went back to work. And of course, work was different because I was a different person at that time. You know what I'm saying? So, however, eventually things started rolling back to normal. Well, a new normal, shall I say. Life started getting a little easier. We ended up moving to a different space, and that was much better, a bigger space. So that did help alleviate some of the stress. But then, in moving, you deal with a lot of stress when that comes. And daycare costs, of course, were astronomical now. And, so you deal with all of that. And so, but things were starting to finally ease up once we got settled again. A few years passed. A few months ago, my nose just started bleeding. And you think a nosebleed, hey, that's not bad. You can, stop a nosebleed. But when I say it was not stopping, it was running like a faucet, but with blood. Like it just consistently was not stopping. And I tried to use like a whole roll of toilet paper. That didn't work. I mean, nothing was working. So thankfully, when it happened, it was the weekend and my husband was off. So we were able to go to the ER. Went to the ER, and, the ER got me back. And they originally they took my blood pressure. Of course, my blood pressure was sky high. It was like 207 over mid 150s, possibly something like that, and just crazy. So I'm sure that is stroke level or maybe beyond stroke level. I don't know the true numbers of all of that, but I knew it wasn't good. Okay, so the first thing was to try to get my blood pressure down. So of course they gave me some IV medication to get that going down, and then they worked on trying to get my nose to stop bleeding. Originally they tried to put a balloon in my nose. That was so painful. That was not going to work for me. So they had, okay, well, let's give you some pain meds. Let those come in, and while the pain meds get in, so if we have to do the balloon, we'll try to clamp your nose with this. So this is basically a nose clamper. So basically what they did was, had me put this on here, while I'm still holding toilet paper because my nose is still, running with blood, okay? While this is on here. But it's trying to, they try to basically trying to get it to clot. And so eventually it did. So we didn't have to go back to doing the balloon again, which I was grateful for because I did not want to do that. They might have had to put me to sleep. Yeah, who knows? But so it stopped because of the clot that had formed in basically my nose, my nasal cavity. And so, I just left that there. We left. I was able to clean my face, whatever else. Left, and the first night I really could not breathe well because of the clot. I had to kind of mouth breathe the whole night. And then I was like, I can't lay like this another day. So, I was like, okay. So I went in there, and my nose wasn't bleeding or anything. So I was basically blowing my nose to get the clot out. And yeah, it was a big clot. So, after I blew that out of my nose, good to go. Over the next couple of days, everything was checking out. Then at work one day, I felt like someone was running in the back of my nose, like in the back of my nasal cavity. And I said, let me go to the restroom because I think my nose is about to start bleeding again. Went to the restroom once again. Yep, started bleeding again. And thankfully, the students and nothing was there. It was the summertime, so students weren't there. So, um, held my nose, got the, told my coworkers, I gotta go to the ER. My nose is bleeding again. Ran out of there, drove myself home. And thankfully, my sister was off, so she was able to take me to the ER again. Went back in there, and they was like, "Oh, did we just see you for this?" And I said, "Yeah, it came back again." So went through that same process. No balloon this time. Once again, they gave me some more meds, an IV to bring my blood pressure down again, to bring it down more, and then clamped again. Clamp it, clamped it, clamped it, clamped it. I mean, I was there clamping it for a while because I did not. I wanted my nose to stop bleeding, obviously. So eventually, after a couple of hours, yet again, it did stop bleeding to where I was able to leave. They gave me the same rundown, and they gave me a doctor to call to refer me out. And I called the doctor, and that doctor had a year wait. So obviously, I couldn't go to that doctor. Looked around and found a doctor, and scheduled time with that doctor. Went into that doctor and let them know what happened. Um, they was like, okay, well, we're gonna schedule, full testing on your next visit so we can make sure we can see what's really going on, make sure it's nothing super serious, even though obviously my blood pressure was high. So, they did give me some more medication, in addition to the one the ER doctor gave me, and then they did an EKG on my heart. And but on my way home, the doctor office called and they was like, "You need to go to the ER right now because of the EKG. I'm guessing was abnormal." So this time I went to a different ER because I wanted to go with one that was actually known for like heart care, just in case something was wrong with my heart, obviously. So I went. My husband took me, and they did an X-ray of my heart. Um, did all the tests again. Everything came back fine. Nothing wrong with my heart. They said, as far as when they looked at it, he was just like, blood pressure high. He said they have you on pretty low prescription. That's probably not doing enough. We'll up it a little bit and see if that helps. He was just like, it's really probably just, stress and lifestyle. Diet, exercise. You know, stress of having a toddler, having a high schooler, those type of things. So Left there. Okay. Then I went back to my other doctor. I went back to the doctor for my checkup to do the full panel. So I did that, and I had already started making dietary changes because I was like, well, you know what? Let me just start really paying attention to what I'm eating and tracking it properly. So I did that. So from the time that I went to the doctor the first time to the second time I went back, I had already lost a little bit of weight, you know, just a little bit, but it was already on the trajectory to where it needed to go. So that doctor, then when I talked to the doctor, she was like, well, you know what, let's go ahead and um, keep you on the same medication and just make sure you check your blood pressure, everything like that. So my test results came back. When my test results came back, it showed, of course, that I was a little anemic. It said I also had high, of course, my blood pressure was crazy high. Um, and other little things, but the main thing was my blood sugar was a little was elevated to the point where I was like 0.2 into diabetic land, and we don't want that. Okay, we don't want to be on diabetic land. I don't want insulin. So she was like, since you're very low in it, we're gonna try the diet and exercise first. And she was like, I'm gonna actually put you on Manjaro to see if that will help you to lose the weight quicker and get those numbers down faster. And I said, okay, we'll try that and see what happens. So um, that's kind of where we are right now. Um, so, why I'm coming back, that's pretty much why I'm coming back. My health, wellness, fitness, all of that. Just to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do for myself, my married, my kids, my family. I just want to stay healthy. I miss working out. I miss lifting weights on a consistent basis. I miss feeling healthy. I just miss some of those things. As you get older, true enough that you're not gonna do the things that you used to do to that level, but it doesn't mean that you need to stop. So that's what I'm focusing on. I do have my diet plan. Is pretty much clean food, uh, lean protein, carbs, and healthy fats like avocado. uh my lean meats is pretty much chicken breast. I will eat some chicken thighs as well. Lean ground beef, ground turkey, lean ground turkey, shrimp, and cod, salmon, tuna, um eggs, and carb sources will be most likely um sweet potatoes from time to time. Um, I'm trying to stay away from bread as much as possible, but um, some little flackers or flax crackers, stuff that's higher in protein, of course, higher in stuff that is higher in fiber. Vegetables, of course, green veggies. Asparagus, broccoli, cauliflower, mushrooms, spinach, those type of things. Zucchini. I probably would not be eating a lot of salad just because usually you eating bad dressings on it, which defeats the purpose of eating the salad. And I know if I want to eat like salad dressing, it's probably gonna be flat. It will probably be fat-free dressing, which means it's gonna have a whole bunch of other things in there that's not necessary. So I'm really trying to keep it clean. Now I'm not gonna be 100% clean all the time, but I'm gonna do my best to majority of the time be clean eating and home cooked meals and not eating out as much as possible. So I'm gonna create some plans that, if I do eat out, then I'm gonna try to eat. If I have to go out to eat for some reason, I'm gonna try to eat at home first, or make sure that I get something that's the healthiest thing on the menu, or get a smaller portion of that thing that is there or whatever. So, and then just eat healthy when I get home. So that's that plan. My workout plan, and my diet plan is probably going to be around from, we're going to roughly start about 1800. That's kind of what I've been at right now. And depending on how I feel with my weightlifting, if it's not enough calories, then I will go up to about 2,100. Just kind of start there, maybe, and tweak it from there. With 40% being protein, 30% being carbs, and 30% being um, healthy fats. Yeah, and I will be eating a lot of cottage cheese most likely. My workout plan is gonna be to work out 4 days a week. Monday and Tuesday. Well, Monday will be upper body. Tuesday will be lower body. And those 2 days I will do my weight training with dumbbells and machines. And then on Wednesday will be my rest day. Thursday and Friday will be another upper and lower day. And then that will be with cables. Um, a full cable workout, machine cable workout on that. And then Saturday and Sunday will be off days as well. I'm gonna start there, and eventually I also have a problem with my knee that I need to get looked at, but I will eventually add cardio in there, but I want to get back into the weight training first. I do have cardio equipment at home, but what I realize is that I actually like to get out of the house to work out and just be able to 100% focus on that. If I'm at home in my home environment, I'm really not focused 100% on my workout. You know what I'm saying? It's just the environment is just like, which is probably not healthy to do, but it is what it is. Yeah, I prefer not to work out at home, unless I was to have an actual home gym, like it's an actual outside space that's my own, that's just for my gym equipment. Like if the garage was converted into a gym or something like that, then probably. But it's nice to be able to just go work out and come back. So, you do what works for you. And yeah, so that is the basis of my plan of how I'm going to make it back. And I ask you guys to just be a part of the video. First of all, thank you. And go ahead and subscribe and click the bell so when I send out more videos that you guys will be notified. And like this video if you are on your own, journey. It doesn't have to be workout or diet. It could be like a mental journey, a financial journey. Just what are your plans this year? Drop me a comment below and let me know, what are your plans? What do you need to work on that you may have been like putting on the back burner, and now is the time, and what are we waiting for? Life is short, and we have to really get up and do and be all that we can be, and not just uh live in mediocrity. So thank you again for watching, and until next time, remember, I'm just trying to work out, and I hope you are too.